All right, so let's go ahead and get this started. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It is going to be an amazing webinar, a lot of information that is good for everyone to be prepared and not to be blindsided from another government shutdown, and then we don't know what to do. So we just wanted to be a little bit proactive and start getting ready for all the what ifs. In this time, we're honored and very excited to have Mr. Anthony Hernandez. He is the CEO and president for the Defense Credit Union Council. He will talk to us about what they do. He will also share with us the tips and what he thinks we should be doing in order to be prepared. So I'm pretty sure that you're going to learn a lot today, and get your notebook ready and start taking a lot of notes. I will be chatting with everybody if you have any questions, and we will open this for discussion at the end for anyone that has any questions. And at the very end, I'm going to pick two names for the two gift card winners sponsored by DCUC. So like I said, let's get ready. And sir, thank you so much for being with us today. It's really exciting and can't wait to learn.
Well, thank you, Berenice. And again, welcome to all the military spouses as part of the Military Spouse Advocacy Network. And we are proud to be partners with you all in educating and helping spouses in any way we can. And so just, real quick, a little bit of background about myself. I retired from the Air Force in 2016, as a full colonel. In fact, my call sign at the time was money, because I was I was a comptroller officer throughout my entire career. I retired after 25 years. My last assignment was as a mission support group commander. And so spouse programs and family programs were near and dear to my heart, both as a financial manager for the United States Air Force and also as a mission support group commander. One of the things in my background was during 9/11, I was a war planner, and I was actually assigned to the Pentagon when that happened. And so, preparedness has always been part of something that I do, something I believe in, and it's just preparing for whatever may or may not happen. And so when we talk about government shutdowns, they always say potential government shutdowns, and I think it's key to foot stomp the word potential, because nobody plans for a government shutdown. If you ask people inside the Pentagon or at your bases, they'll tell you the same thing. They'll say, "What shutdown? We're not anticipating a shutdown." And so I just go back to being prepared in the event that a government shutdown, may occur. And so, I came up with a couple of things to talk about today, working with our partners at Military Saves. And so we'll get into the presentation here. First, I'd like to do a quick introduction on the Defense Credit Union Council. And basically, we're a nonprofit trade association made up of defense credit unions that are located on every military installation around the world. The council was formed 56 years ago to provide a liaison, advocacy, and support services between DoD and our members, and also with the Congress. And so, rather than go into, each of our 180 members and their CEOs and their staffs, the council was set up so that there would be one point of contact for all defense credit unions, and that is the Defense Credit Union Council. And so we work with senior leaders at DoD, we work with federal financial regulators, and again, our ultimate concern is the ultimate benefit of military members and their families. And we work on stuff that reaches across all industries, like the Service Member Civil Relief Act, or the Military Lending Act, or DoD policy as it relates to financial products and services that we offer to our members. And we also co-own the Armed Forces Financial Network, which has a rich history of providing access to funds. And it started with the defense commissaries, because when the military went to direct deposit, there was no way for people to access their funds. And so we developed a network that still exists today and is very, very profitable. So in a nutshell, everything I just said, here's a quick graphic, and I'm kind of going off the center graphic. We are the premier defense trade association representing the interests of defense credit unions operating on military installations worldwide. Our members have more than $275 billion in assets. That's larger than Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman combined. So it's very large. And we represent about 23 million memberships serving our military in 48 states and 16 countries worldwide. And so that's just who we are and how big we are. We operate with a 6-person staff, and there's a picture of all of us up on the upper right-hand corner. And if you're interested to see what DCUC does, we actually have a motion graphic video that explains it. We are located in the heart of Washington, D.C. at Farragut Square. And there's a picture of the building that we operate out of. That is the Army-Navy building, and the historic Army-Navy Club is at the bottom of that building, and the office space is up on top. Again, we work at very senior levels at the undersecretary or the assistant secretary level and above. So that's just kind of DCUC in a nutshell. Okay, so one of the things we do, our member credit unions, is we actually have an operating agreement with each of our member credit unions and the Department of Defense. And one of the things in that operating agreement that we're required to do by law or by regulation is to provide financial literacy training. And so there's 2 programs that we take part in every year. One is Military Saves Week, and this year that happened between February 24th and February 29th. And the other one is Financial Literacy Month or Financial Capability Month, and that happens in the month of April. And so I thought a great thing that, for us to talk about, particularly since we just got out of the longest government shutdown on record, which is about 35 days, that just concluded on January 25th, is maybe we should take this seriously and teach people how to prepare for the next government shutdown whenever that happens. And so I'm going to use an old fighter pilot, rule of thumb called the OODA loop. And that's for observe, orient, decide, and act. And that's just observing what conditions exist around you and the likelihood that we may or may not have a government shutdown. Orient is how do you fit into, how does your personal finances look, and taking a hard look at that. And then deciding on a course of action, working with professionals, and getting some good advice, and then acting out on that. And that's just real easy. I just want to say one thing about a government shutdown. I mean, given the political climate that exists here in Washington, D.C., I'm sure you all can understand why we're foot stomping, be prepared for another government shutdown. Fortunately, a lot of our member credit unions, I would say all our member credit unions, if you're a member and do direct deposit, they pretty much guarantee your military pay with a 0 interest loan that gets paid back as soon as the government pays folks back. So it's, one thing I would foot stomp throughout this is this is a great time to join a credit union before you need to do that. But the one thing I'd also highlight for everyone to do is go visit the Military Saves website. And that's at militarysaves, all one word, .org. All right, and there's some great, I gave on this slide a quick picture of what that website looks like, but there are some great pointers there, some great testimonials, some calendars, just some good things to use that is very, very helpful. And this is who we partner with in terms of the Defense Credit Union Council, and our member credit unions take part in this Military Saves Week alone. Unfortunately, DOD for the 2nd year in a row did not participate in Military Saves Week. And I found that very ironic since, we just came out of a long government shutdown. This would have been the perfect opportunity to stress the importance of building an emergency fund. And so we're doing everything we can to get the word out because it's important. We saw lots of stories with the last government shutdown with the Coast Guard and a lot of members, can I make next month's rent payment or the next month's mortgage payment or car payment? It was not surprising, but still kind of alarming to see how many people didn't have an emergency savings fund. And so, we're going to stress this very hard, and we have been ever since. This is why we're doing this webinar today, is to kind of get the word out. And educate military spouses who, I believe, see these issues day to day. Again, I'm going to foot stomp, join a credit union, or check out your financial institution and see what kind of what kind of programs they have in the event of a government shutdown. And so why do we foot stomp that? Well, this is where defense credit unions make all the difference. If you look on the upper right-hand corner, you see where the most helpful sources of financial information are. And not surprisingly, those are your banks and credit unions, particularly those that are located on military installations. A lot of people get advice from family and friends, more from military peers. And then we look down at some of the formal programs that commanders have. One is a personal financial managers or counselors program that you find in the financial readiness centers. And then you have the military chain of command. And I'll be honest with you, when I was a group commander, which is brigade size, for those of you in the Army, I wasn't very, even though I was a financial manager, I didn't take giving financial advice. I always relied on the banks or credit unions to do a lot of that. And that makes sense because banks and credit unions, that's what they do. That's what they specialize in. And so those programs, like I mentioned before in our operating agreement, those are offered for free. So I'd encourage you not only to join a credit union, but go see your credit union and see if you can get some more advice or come up with a savings plan or see what kind of debt consolidation plans they have if you want to consolidate some debt and move forward. But I thought it was also interesting that the top 5 savings goals, we see that establishing an emergency fund is number 3 on the list. And that makes sense from everything from government shutdowns to what might happen in case of disaster, like another hurricane hits the North Carolina or Florida panhandle. And having those emergency funds to deal with the short-term emergencies, but you got to build that up first. And you see the top savings challenges. But again, like you'll hear me say, it's a good time to join a defense credit union before you need to take advantage of all the programs that they have. And we'll talk about some of those as well. The one thing I will mention though, and I'll foot stomp this, is that when you put money into a savings account, make sure it's not your checking account. Never mix the two up because you spend out of your checking account and you don't touch your funds in your savings account. And that is all the financial literacy websites that are out there will stress that. You're less likely to dip into your savings than you are for your checking account because we just get used to spending out of that. So keep it in a savings account, not in a checking account. Okay, some things that you can do, military-wise, at the beginning of saving money. First of all, is a tax refund, or those of you that have civilian jobs, saving part of your annual bonus. I'm not talking big bucks. I think the average that you'd want to start out with for a government shutdown is at least one pay period, which is about 2 weeks or about half your paycheck, right? So depending on your rank, it's anywhere from between if you're junior enlist, it's about $900, but for most families, it's about $1,500 to about $4,500 that you would need to save over a year to try to get that amount saved up in case of a government shutdown. And the best source of cash right out of the gate is a tax refund or an annual bonus and putting some of that money away. A lot of members deploy. And when you deploy, you get combat zone tax exclusions, you get family separation pay, you get hardship pay. Put a portion of that away. That money is there intended to help defray some of the expenses while the military members deployed. But if there's any way you can put some of that into a savings account, it'll pay big dividends for your family in the event, not only a government shutdown, but let's just say the family car needs to be repaired or the refrigerator needs to be repaired. Whatever the emergency is, it's very important to have that cash set aside. For those of you that are PCSing this summer, there's always that dislocation allowance. Save a portion of that as much as you can. Those that are getting promotion pay, at least for the first couple months, put some of that new money, put that away into a savings account. The money will build up pretty quick. And there's other sources or ideas that you can use to save some cash. For instance, if you were to save 50 cents a day in loose change, and that's just money that if you go and buy something and you pay cash, if you're using cash, if you can put away 50 cents a day, that's about $15 a month. It adds up to about $180 over the course of a year. And so that helps out if you're trying to get to the first, $1,500 level. If you cut soda or soda consumption by at least 1 liter a week, that's $6 a month. Hey, that's $72 over the course of a year. It starts to add up. If you substitute 1 coffee for 1 cappuccino, you'll save about $40 a month. That equates to $480 a year. If you bring lunch to work and save about $3, you'll save about $60 a month and about $720 a day. So we're already at that, close to that $1,500 level. And so there are just some small things you can do to help do that. Other things that are available with combat zone tax exclusion while you're deployed. Hopefully you all know about the savings deposit program that DFAS offers, where you can save up to $10,000 of your deployed pay and get a 10% return on your money. That's amazing because nobody else is getting 10%. Although we do have a few member credit unions that don't have any limitation. You can put as much money into a savings account and get up to 10% annual percentage rate. That money adds up very, very quickly and can build up your reserve. So when you need it, you don't have to worry about it. There's also something called an investment development account. And if you were to Google those 3 words, investment development account, there are many places around the country that if you pledge to save money, say for a house or for setting up a business or transition, they'll actually pay you $2 for every dollar that you save. That's a lot of money. You can find all those ideas on the militarysaves.org page and just look under the For Savers tab, and you can find plenty of programs that are out there to help military members save additional cash for a rainy day. And so those are just a few things that we offer. But to kind of wrap things up a bit, again, identify your time to save the extra, right? So set aside some time to take a look at these things, some time to go look at the militarysaves.org, and then make a plan and then set a date for accomplishing those goals. Really, the idea is just to get knowledge and point you to a couple great resources. You can do a lot of research on the internet with the militarysaves.org. I'd also stress going to visit your on-base credit union, see what they offer in terms of products and services, but also just financial counseling. And then go see your personal financial manager on base. The military pays each of these folks a salary to be there for you to counsel members on how to do that. And so there's lots of resources out there. The thing I would say is start today. Don't wait 2 weeks before a potential shutdown, because everybody's going to be in line to do the same thing. And so for those of you that are listening in on this webinar, foot stomp again, this is a great time to get started, and it doesn't need to be drastic. There are things you can do today to achieve your goals and to take care of your families. And with that, I don't have much more on my presentation. I hope I at least stimulated some conversation, laid out some ideas, and a lot of these you've probably heard of before. But I would just foot stomp, visit your defense credit union, and they're on every installation, and get more advice. And with that, I'll take any questions that are out there.
All right, thank you, sir. And yeah, great information and ideas and tips. And we had an amazing question. Stacy was asking if Coast Guard families can join a defense credit union.
So the answer is yes. In fact, most credit unions are open to military and Coast Guard. There's no distinction between Department of Defense or Department of Homeland Security. But yes, we have a number of Coast Guard credit unions. I know Navy Federal is on most Coast Guard installations already, and their membership is open. But we have a number of Coast Guard credit unions that are actually out there as well. And so the answer is yes. We make none of those distinctions. In fact, if you look at our flags, the Coast Guard is one of the five. Well, if you're looking on the screen, we got 5 stars in our logo. One of those stars is the United States Coast Guard. So the answer is yes.
Wonderful. So then I am assuming the reserves, National Guard, they will fall under the same.
Correct. Just check the local field of membership rules, but with defense in there, it's very broad. And if you need help finding a credit union, please contact us at dcuc.org, and we will help find you a credit union that'll meet your needs. One of the nice things about credit unions, as opposed to banks, is that credit unions are member owned. Banks are owned by shareholders, and so all that profits that credit unions make are reinvested back into the credit union in the terms of low interest loans, high interest savings, and lots of community programs that go forward. Banks do a lot of the same things, but a lot of their profits go back to the shareholders, and so that's kind of the difference between the two. And so credit unions are able to offer a lot of these 10% annual percentage rates and zero interest loans during government shutdown, because that's what they're structured to do. And so that's just a plug for the difference between a credit union and a bank.
Wonderful. And something else that I wanted to address for the new spouses that are joining us and they're watching this webinar now. Maybe as you have not experienced a government shutdown now that you are in the military lifestyle. If there is a government shutdown, our active duty members do not get paid. And sometimes it can take a little bit of time for you to get reimbursed or to get paid. There's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of things that you don't know what to do. So we just want the new spouses to know that this is the reason why we're doing this. We want you to be prepared for in case your active duty member doesn't get paid because there is a government shutdown. And this is the reason why we want you to give you options as of what can you do, where can you go to ask for assistance. And I think, sir, that financial readiness and education is good no matter the level of your spouse's career, regardless if you're new or in the middle or the end. You always need that assistance because it is for you to be prepared to no matter what.
That's exactly right, Bernice. And if you're brand new to this, or you're newly married and you're a spouse, the first time, there are resources out there, and organizations like the Military Spouse Advocacy Network are perfect venues for getting information. One of the things I loved about my military career and when my wife Jennifer and I were coming up, is there was all kinds of help out there. You just gotta ask for it. And we know lots of people, we know lots of charities, lots of veteran service organizations that exist out there to help military members and their families, through these times, whether it's a natural disaster, a government shutdown, let's just say some type of life-changing event happens. We're there to help you, because financial readiness is huge in terms of getting the mission accomplished. You don't want to be worrying about making your rent payment when you're trying to hook up the oxygen bottle on a military fighter jet. It's just that important not to be concerned with other things. So again, MSAN is great. You can contact dcuc.org. We can find people to help just about any situation.
Yeah, and we also have some information on our website because Mr. Hernandez said at the beginning, we are partners, and they are one of our main sponsors. So a lot of the information that we're talking about right now and beyond, you can come to our website and we will direct you to DCUC for additional support. But a bottom line comes to the assistance and the resources are there. We just gotta educate ourselves to know where to go and how to do it. A lot of the times, we assume that we don't have resources, but we do. It's just that we don't know where they are. And that's why we're here. And that's why DCUC is with us, so that we can tell you that you're not alone. And no matter what happens, there's always someone ready to help you. So if anybody has any other questions, please let me know. But I think that a lot of great information was covered today. And I think this webinar will be great to have like a follow-up or like a number 2 later on. If any of you start a savings account now, if you start doing any cuts here and there, little ones, it would be great to do a follow-up so that we know if in 3-4 months, what was the change that you see? How much, not so much money, now how much money you saved, but do you really get to see that change? Do you feel comfortable knowing that now you have some money saved up for no matter what? You know, that gives you a lot of peace of mind when you go to bed to know that at least you have a savings account for an emergency, that when you go to bed and you're like, oh, I hope there's no emergency because we're not ready for it.
Yeah, you know, car breaks down.
Yeah.
You know, a parent gets sick and you need plane tickets. I mean, there's lots of things. You know, when you're military, you're away from home, and a lot of the support network that you built up, you know, in your youth prior to enlisting or getting your commission. And so it's not cheap if you're living, you know, one side of the country to fly back, or you're out there and say your car breaks down, or it needs new tires, it needs winter tires because you're in a northern climate. Who knows? I mean, there's just lots of things, and it's always helpful when you have money set aside to take care of those. And then, you know, everyone's looking at you because you're the financial, genius, because you've just figured it out. But it's not that hard to do. Yeah. The main thing is to get started today, and that's what I want to foot stomp. But again, best thing I would recommend is joining a credit union. If you need help finding one, contact us. We can help out with that. But the nice thing about joining a credit union, if you do direct deposit, and you can always do a transfer from your credit union account back to your financial institution if that's where you like to do your mobile banking. But you have to at least have the direct deposit into your credit union account to get the 0 interest loan. And that is peace of mind in and of itself, because you know you have nothing to sweat when you start reading the news headlines.
Yes, that's true. And one more thing to remind everybody that there's no shame to ask for assistance. Don't feel bad if you go to a financial expert and say, you know what, I don't think I'm ready. I don't know what to do. Maybe we're spending too much. We don't have nothing on savings. We're not prepared. Don't feel bad about it. That's the reason why they are there. So you can take that first step and go.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter the rank. I've seen generals that don't have any money set aside. You know, you'd be surprised how many people are actually in that boat. We're just there to help. So come see us. We understand a lot of those things. And I just say, just come talk to us. Even if you don't open up an account, there's resources there. We could hook military families up just to get education. The hardest thing you can do, or the worst thing you can do, is to sit in despair and wonder or dread, you know, not being able to do something. So reach out. I've been there. Lots of military families have been there. I saw it a lot when I was on active duty. I saw it a lot when I was a commander. And the nicest thing you can do, whether you're a first sergeant, military commander, or a supervisor, is helping your young service member or your subordinate, getting them that help. There is no greater day, at least in my opinion, in the United States Air Force, than helping a member solve their problems. But you just got to be able to ask and look for that. We're here to help.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, sir. And if we don't have any other questions or comments, I already picked the 2 winners. We have this software where we enter the names and we're able to get the winners. So Krista and Haley are our winners today. So both of you get a $25 gift card. I am going to enter my email address in the chat so you can send me an email and I can send you those electronic gift cards. And in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Thank you so much for the awesome webinar and all the information, and for advocating for us and for supporting us and for showing us a light.
My pleasure. Thank you, Berenice.
Thank you so much, sir. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.